knowing that we had a potential to draft pretty high. It wasn't like this was the first time we'd heard of him. We'd seen him in the high school scene. He was a pretty highly rated high school player. And so we try to spend as much time with those guys as possible and get to know them. So spending time at practice, going to games, even in the grassroots scene when we're allowed to see those guys, we try to make sure that we get eyes on them. So he'd been somebody that we knew a lot about. And when the opportunity was there for, we were really excited to draft him. So
tell me what you like about him specifically.
A lot of different things. He's very versatile. He's tough. He's smart. Most times you don't see highly rated players go to a school and be willing to play a role, right? He played on the ball and off the ball in high school and, was doing things that he just wasn't able to showcase sometimes at UConn because they were so good and they were deep and they were experienced. And so that ability to sacrifice for the betterment of the team is something that stood out to us as well, right? Because that's something you're going to have to do across the course of your career, everybody. And so that stood out as a great quality, but he's tough, he's smart, he's a team-first guy, he's a hard worker, and he comes from a program where they're getting coached hard every single day. They work hard, they practice hard, they're competitive, and they execute, and that meant a lot to us.
Pop's not going to scare him, I guess.
Not at all.
He's a guy who's, I think, been on record of saying he thinks he's a point guard. Obviously, he's played on ball, off ball. Where do you guys kind of see him?
He's a basketball player, and so I think you'll see him all over the place. As much as he played point guard in high school, you would see him setting the screen and rolling to the basket and finishing. So that type of versatility is great. And again, guys come in and work and show you where they're best. And so we'll see where that lands. But he's got great skills, great versatility, and we're excited to see where that goes.
Is that where basketball's going, where you have guards who can hit the short roll and find people around the court?
Yeah, I mean, you look at how we played last year, and Trey Jones was rolling to the basket and was great at it, right? So I think the versatility and the uniqueness of some of the guys we have on the roster allows you to do things differently than you would traditionally look at basketball. And so that's a skill that we value.
You talk about him coming out of high school. I think he was a 5-star.
Mm-hmm.
How far back do y'all go and look at this stuff? I know he gets criticism for his shooting. He looks like a good shooter. His mechanics look all right.
Yeah.
And I know that's kind of a deep cut, but
yeah.
How far back do y'all go when you're looking at stuff like this?
Keep the inside information safe, but yeah, we try to go back as far as we can. As far as we're allowed. The more information you have, the better, and it just paints the complete picture. These guys are on college campuses sometimes for 6, 7, 8 months. Right. And so you may only see something there that if you haven't seen it anywhere else, you may miss something. So we're fortunate to see him play there, but also see some of the things that maybe he didn't showcase on such a great championship team.
Even though maybe his three-point percentage wasn't there last year, do you look at his mechanics as something that's something you can work with?
Mechanics and free throw percentage, and you break the season up into stretches. He missed some time. How did he shoot coming back from injury? How did he finish the season? I think you look at all those things, and on a team like Connecticut, you don't have the ability to shoot yourself out of a slump sometimes, right? So you get 8 shots or 7 shots sometimes. You don't get to shoot 18 times to shoot your way out of a bad shooting game. And so you have to take the whole context into the equation. So we believe he'll continue to improve there. And again, it starts with who he is as a kid and how hard he works, and we believe he'll make strides.
Can you actually expound upon that?
Was that there wasn't a clear-cut number one prospect, that everyone's boards look different. How did you guys look at the talent in this draft coming into today?
So every draft is different, and so there's some drafts where your high-end talent is really high, maybe at the top, and there's some drafts where it's really deep, right, of quality impact players. And we thought this draft was, I get some of the narrative around it, but there were good players well into the first round. So you just try to make the best decision for your team. We don't have 30 slots that we pick. We only have to pick one, and sometimes 2. So, but we liked what we saw in stretches of talent in this draft.
Outside of the X's and O's shoe mechanics, what do you like about him as a character, as a person?
Yeah, again, that willingness to sacrifice, and he was always he's kind of like a quiet, stoic type of personality. But you watch him when teammates have success. It didn't matter if he had 18 points in that game or 6 points. And he was fired up for his teammates, right? So you try to pick up little things along the way that tell you about him as a teammate, what's he like in that locker room, and there were just a lot of positives about him.
There's still some red tape to clear up, but can you explain the rationale of not using the number 8 pick?
I knew you were going to ask me a question I can't answer.
I'm trying to avoid the word.
Yeah, no, can't speak to specifics, but at a point in time, we'll talk about that.
How does it being a 2-day event now change? Instead of going from 30 to 31 in 2 minutes, it's now 18 hours between picks, 19 hours, whatever it is.
No one gets to go home for a while. So everybody's taking a little snack break, and then, you get back to work. It's different. We're all going through it for the first time. So after year one, you sit back and debrief and kind of evaluate what are things that work and how do we get better for next year. But, we're figuring it out on the fly, too.
Personally, do you like the 2-day event, or do you want to get it all over at once?
We'll see. We'll answer after day 2. If day 2 goes well, maybe it's a good thing.
How much does this stuff, just like what Jeff and Andrew are talking about, the ability to just, again, not bringing up the word, but spreading everything out, or whatever decision is made, just the ability to keep things consistent over the long haul? Because I know y'all have talked a lot about wanting this to be a long-term thing, like not just jumping right in.
I think the decisions you make over time around your flexibility, around the adaptability with ways with which you can build, we've been pretty consistent with that. And we will. Like I said, we want to build something that's sustainable, and you got to build it brick by brick. And, we hope to do that. But I think all the decisions that we made to this point have been under that premise, and we'll keep going with that.
Fans ask, where's this team going? And they look at 4 and what you guys are doing at 8, what do you do tomorrow, 35 and 48. When it comes to asset management, what would you say to fans that are like, why are we stockpiling all these picks? Why are we making the decisions that we're making?
Because typically it's a pretty good strategy. So we'll try to continue to make sound decisions with whatever we do. And we want to continue to improve the team. We know that we've got a great runway here. We've got some great young talent, and we look to build around them in the right way.
Were you tempted to move up? Were there some calls, conversations?
Yeah, somebody who worked in the business for a long time, I won't say his name, but as I was learning and growing in the business, he told me, every year I try to trade for every pick in the draft. and he's probably, a little sarcastic, but it's a great thing to just be active, be on the phone, understand what it takes to move up, move back, whatever it is. And so we've kind of taken that on. So
How does that foster relationships for later? Like, I know that maybe it sounds like a vague question, but just, being on the phone with people, talking to people,
yeah.
and as everything pans out for years and years to come, like how much does that matter?
Yeah, it's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
It's we're all competitive people, and we're competing against each other, but you're in the same gyms, you're on the same planes, you see guys all the time, and you build relationships, and the more you're on the phone, you build work relationships, you build personal relationships, but when you have that trust, it makes getting to actual deals a little bit easier.
And bookkeeping,
Pop,
I know you guys have. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, Pop famously told us that last game, he says, I'm ready to go. I'd like the season to start tomorrow. Was he more actively involved in this draft preparation than he typically has been in the past when he was, especially when he was taking teams into June?
I'll say this. I've been incredibly impressed by the entire group. This is probably one of the most collaborative draft processes I've ever been a part of across all of basketball operations. So it was great to see, and I think the outcomes were great tonight.
How does it being a 2-day event change round 2 now as you go forward? Is now you have so many hours to contemplate, okay, maybe these guys will make this move, or we should make this move. How does it change your strategy going into tomorrow?
It's a great question. We'll see. We still got work to do tonight.
I don't know if we get to talk too much in the next week or so before free agency opens, but you feel like you've got the flexibility to be as aggressive as you want to be.
Yeah, once the bell rings, we'll put together a plan and try to execute. Free agency is always interesting because you can want to do things, but people have to choose you as well. So when that time comes, we'll figure out a strategy and go from there.
On that, Devontae's money, I think, guarantees on July 1st. If you guys made a decision on that, and I think it's Julian and Charles have options that guarantee by August 1st. Have you guys made any decisions on those?
No decisions at this moment.
Any complications with Zach's recovery from surgery?
No, he's doing great. He's working hard every day, and obviously it was unfortunate, but you guys know Zach. He's a hard worker, and he's super competitive. So he attacked his rehab like he attacked the game, so he's doing really well.
Thank you, Brian.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. A little earlier than normal. You guys can still go home.
Maybe. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah. Thank y'all.
I'll be home before midnight.
No, of course. Just got the little lean back. Yeah.
This is a lot shorter interview than last time. Way shorter interview than last year.
So, hey everybody, Vinny Vinzetta alongside our good friend Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs here at the Victory Capital Performance Center. Night one of the 2024 NBA Draft is in the books. The Spurs in at number 4 and number 8 tonight in the first round. I'm sure all of you know about the drama. Let's go immediately to that 8th pick tonight,
Yes.
Jeff. It was Rob Dillingham from Kentucky, and then we learn he's headed to Minnesota.
Yeah.
The Spurs in return get a 2030 protected and a 2031 unprotected draft pick. What'd you make of all that noise?
What I made of it was simply this: there better be something cooking down the road, because to trade away the number 8 pick and a guard, Dillingham, who could fit in seamlessly with his team, to flip him for future picks 20, 31 years from now, all I can think of is, look, assets are a premium. I get that, but you got to start turning these assets around for something that'll help the rebuild now.
And then we got to the post-draft press conference tonight with Spurs GM Brian Wright, and that's when Spurs PR advised everybody that he would not be talking about the trade that went down at number 8 because it's not yet a league-approved trade, even though Commissioner Adam Silver announced during the ESPN broadcast that the trade had gone down. So some of the assembled media, I took that they weren't very pleased about that, didn't like that at all. So what did you take from that he's not going to talk about the specifics just yet?
When can we talk about it then? That's my first thought. Like, it's going to happen. It has happened. Silver said it did. So when can we talk about it? I don't know. I mean, could it be a situation like, you know, they got to get their ducks in a row to figure out how this is going to work out and then have their official statement. But just the fact that they went radio silence on that, I don't think that was a good look. They should have answered it. It's a hot topic right now with Spurs fans. Spurs fans, they want to know why the trade was made. I think it was a little bit of a disservice for the fan base to not address it.
Does it tell us that maybe something else bigger is cooking, perhaps,
so.
in any sense there?
I hope so. I hope something's cooking because, look, you have the rest of the offseason. You have, once the bell rings for free agency trades, all that stuff, all the good stuff. Hey, we're rock and roll. But you got to think this is a move for sooner than later. You hope, you're crossing fingers. That's the only thing that makes sense, is this move was made for a bigger move, hopefully sooner, that'll help Wemby in this rebuild go forward instead stall, because as of right now, it feels stalled.
Well, to start the night, the Spurs were in there at number 4, and the pick was Stephon Castle, the freshman. I guess, is he a guard or a forward, or basically a guard?
Guard combo,
Out
combo
of
guy,
the University of UConn. He's a strong finisher at the rim. He can get up there and have some amazing dunks. He's known for playing some lockdown defense. What do you make it of that pick for the Spurs at number 4 in round 1?
My first initial reaction was, all right, expected. You know, that was many of the mocks said Castle's going to go to 4. Spurs going to pick him up. He had a phenomenal workout here in San Antonio. Brian Wright told us that they've been scouting him since high school. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah.
Since high school.
Yeah, they went way back in the film
They went
archive.
way back to high school to scout him to now. He was the Spurs were actively scouting him at UConn, talking to the head coach out there. Not a surprise they picked him. Look, this was a situation where the Spurs, outside of the 5 spot, Wemby, they need help anywhere. They picked a 3, fine. They picked a 4, fine. A 1, fine. 2, fine. Whatever position they picked, I think it was going to help address a need. Now, Castle addresses the need for point guard depth. He's big. He can get to the rim. Brian Wright told me that he likes that he's very stoic, that he doesn't really show his emotions too much, but that he celebrates his teammates, even though Castle was not a part of any winning play or big-time action. So, overall, this is a very Spurs pick, but a safe pick, and you hopefully he works out. But the big question is he the point guard of the future rebuild? That's a big question.
Yeah, he's a winner from the University of UConn as a national champion. We were talking earlier because it felt like late in the year of this past season that the Vassell's and the Sohans maybe figured it out with Wemby, because we feel like they have. Can they in turn help make the transition easy for him to work with Wemby as a rookie?
Well, look, we talked about this too. How long did it take for the Spurs, last year's roster, to get going with Wemby?
A while.
It took them a while. So, but in paper, it should work out, right? Hey, I'm Castle. I see a 7'4" guy out there. I'm going to go throw it at him. That should be it and get out of his way. But look, you got to give him time to adjust to playing in the NBA and then get adjust to an alien. So that's going to take some time. And then, can Pop can he earn Pop's trust to run the point guard spot? You brought it up. There, do we see shades of maybe Tony Parker, teenager, getting thrusted into the position? What does that mean for Trey Jones? Because that was his spot.
Yeah.
Now he gets shifted to the bench. I think Spurs fans are gonna be okay with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really want to see how they use him. Brian Wright told us that they like his versatility. So we'll see if they slot him and pigeonhole him at a point guard spot.
You know what I found myself thinking? I was thinking back to the days of David and Tim and the Twin Towers in there and winning championships. And I know the league has changed,
Yeah, it has.
but I thought, wouldn't Wemby and Donovan Clingan from UConn be special? But again, it's not the way the game is played.
Yeah.
But I started thinking 2 7-footers. I mean, right?
Yeah.
That
Hey, look, Pop is known to buck the trend. When the league was all about full speed, it was 4 down Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
When it was don't take 3 shots, take a lot of 3 shots. It was take mid-range shots in. So yeah, Twin Tower version 2.0 would have been phenomenal. But as much as Clingan would have been awesome, it's still the issue of he's not a 4, he's a true 5.
Right.
Wemby excels at the 5 spot, the center
Yeah,
spot.
yeah.
Do you shift? See, I think that would have made more mess than maybe the Spurs need right now.
Yeah. We still have, of course, round 2 of this draft on Thursday, but last one for you. I want to bounce ahead to 25. Jeff, the Spurs potentially have 4 first-round draft picks in the first round in 2025, and that's supposedly the star-studded draft. I mean,
He's in that draft, too.
I feel like they're positioned well.
Yeah, they're very positioned well. And we're not forgetting the Atlanta unprotected first-round picks, a deep draft. I can see the Spurs being big, major players in 2025 offseason. And I wouldn't even be surprised if come the trade deadline next year that they're active as well, getting prepped for that big offseason. I know Spurs fans are disappointed. Tables were being thrown out the windows, chairs are being flipped over for this draft, but I think if you play the long game, which is not that long, it's just next offseason, the Spurs could be major players in acquiring players, young players in that draft, the current development players, and this team could be back to the mountaintop and a powerhouse in the NBA.
And I want to add to that, and we'll finish up here, but after the Dillingham trade was announced on social media, whether it was Spurs fans on Facebook or Twitter, the world is ending.
The world is ending, everybody.
Fire everybody.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're doing. Exhale, relax. I mean, it's not the end of the world. Sun's coming up tomorrow. I think they know what they're doing. In fact, they may have just made the pick for Minnesota. That's what this deal could have been.
Sure. And another thing that just popped in my head, just a random thought, is what if they just dealt number 8 because one of their guys was off the board already, and we all know who that could have been, Saloon out of France. Maybe they saw him go.
Sense.
They saw him leave, and they say, you know what, there goes our guy. We got our guard already, Castle. All right, who's willing and dealing with us? Minnesota, yay, you got yourself a guy, give us some picks. But again, Brian Wright, was it just me, or was he just kind of salivating over the fact he acquired more draft picks?
I felt that way.
Right? He was like, those assets, he literally looked at all the media, those assets, they're really good.
Yeah.
So he loves accumulating assets, and if you saw him tonight at the press ring, that smile got even bigger, didn't it, when he got more assets?
Yeah. It is brutally hot out here. It only cools off when somebody opens the door over there, and there's like a rush of AC comes at us. But we'll wrap this up. Good night for the Spurs. Round 1 of the 2024 draft. They'll finish it up tomorrow, and then we'll see what free agency and what they have in the pocketbook holds for this summer.
Basically, his financial status, right? You basically just look to you for any time.
Then they won't be getting anybody.
There we go. Yeah, sorry, Spurs fans.
Thank you, my friend.
Yes, sir.
All right, Jeff Garcia, Locked On Spurs, Vinny Vinzetta from Ken's 5. We're going to close it out right here on this live stream. Go Spurs, go. Be well.